I would love to introduce Erin. So I came across Erin. This is like one of those serendipitous kind of things, like just kind of poking around on YouTube or something, I don't know, came across a keynote from Erin. And I just found her way to interact and engage with her audience so compelling that I reached out. So here we are. Erin has a company that's called MindFix, and Erin and her team had helped entrepreneurs and consultants of all levels of success change their relationship to money completely. Today, we get to discover and understand the why behind our money blocks and the struggles with charging what we are actually worth. We are also going to get to experience how it feels to have those blocks removed. Erin is calling in today from San Diego, but she lives in Colorado, where she loves to mountain bike and snowboard in her free time. And she actually calls the Bay Area her second home because she was born and raised in San Mateo. So welcome to this virtual second home. And I very much look forward to your presentation and our conversation. So welcome, Erin. Oh, you're muted. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And if you would be so kind, if there's anything that pops up in the chat, since I won't be able to see it, just let me know. Thank you so much for the introduction. Are we ready for me to share the screen and dive in?
Let's do it.
Right, let's do it. And before we begin today, if you have any burning questions that you're sitting there and it's making it difficult to move forward or focus or concentrate, please do raise your hand and ask, because it's likely that someone else on the call also has that same question. And I'd like to have more of an interactive feel, as if we were all sitting together at like a small table. And so if there is something that you're not clear about as we go forward today, raise your hand and someone will be able to call on you, and we can pause and make sure that you're clear as we move forward. So let's talk about charging what you're actually worth. This is one of my favorite topics, and I'm so delighted to be here with you today to share. So before we dive in, I'd love to create a beautiful transition for you to kind of arrive and be present here with me. Because wherever you were, if it was taking kids to school, if it was coming from the gym, if it was sending out emails or being on a client call or doing preparation work, let's transition from wherever you were to being present with each other right now. And now I used to do like, let's take a deep breath together, but recently I was introduced to the concept of yawning. And apparently there's 40, 50, 60 different clinical research studies on PubMed about the benefits of mindful yawning. And people are starting to use this in meetings because yawning creates thermoregulation and balances blood temperature in the brain. It increases focus, improves memory and attention. For some people can boost mood. So if you'd be so kind, let's, it's an invitation to be present together. So let's take one long mindful yawn together. 3, 2, 1. Thank you. All right, let's dive in. So at the MindFix group, we specialize in working with high achievers and leaders, entrepreneurs, consultants, and CEOs. And we identify and then eliminate their biggest mental roadblocks or challenges. We do this reliably, and we do this consistently. And what this means is that people come to us when they are experiencing a number of ways in which they share that they're feeling stuck, or they feel like they're getting in their own way. And for every individual, this can look wildly different. It could be any one of these things. It could be some combination. It could be different things at different times. What we're here today, however, to talk about specifically is money. and even more specifically, why it can be so challenging to increase your rates and charge what you're worth, even when you have a strategy, even when you know what you could be charging, even when you know what you could be doing, you're finding it difficult to actually take the action to implement. So what we're going to cover today in our little workshop is a new way to think about your challenge, an understanding about the psychology behind it, so that you don't feel like this doesn't make sense. I want you walking away today going, I get it now. I understand why it's been challenging to charge what I'm truly worth. And then you'll also walk away with an understanding to the key of how you can actually break this pattern. First, we need to bring awareness to why it's happening. And then you'll be free to actually move forward and break it, break the pattern. So I'd like to start off with telling you the story of Lee, one of my absolute favorite clients that we worked with. She worked in the tourism industry. And when she first came to us, she had been trying to increase her rates for 3 years. She was experiencing constant procrastination. She said she was going to do it. It was in her next 90-day sprint. She had all the intentions in the world to increase her rates, and yet she kept procrastinating. As time went by, it started to sap her confidence in how she felt about herself. And then her revenue was not increasing because she had built this business over the years and she wasn't increasing her rates, and there was inflation and increased costs. And it was really impacting her. So she was self-sabotaging by avoiding what she needed to do. This was creating an ongoing kind of low-level daily anxiety that she started to experience as she went throughout her workday, and then it started impacting her personal life. And she was self-medicating with wine at the end of the nights. And then she found that she was hitting this revenue ceiling that she could not seem to move past because she was struggling with her relationship to money. So when she came to us a few years ago, I remember she said, Erin, I have tried everything. And I said, everything? Have you really tried everything? And she's like, let me tell you what I have tried as I have tried to increase my rates. I bring myself a sense of calm. I meditate. I've got masterminds. I have a mentor helping me come up with a strategy of how to increase my rates. I've been looking into this positive thinking and positive psychology. I've read books, self-help. I've attended a couple money mindset seminars. I've been talking about this for so long with my therapist. I've even set up this punishment system where I tell myself, look, if I haven't raised my rates by X date, then I have to, I think she had something like contribute money or donate money to a cause that she didn't like. And I sat there going, that's a lot of effort that you have invested in trying to raise your rates. There must be some block, some part of you that just doesn't want to do it or is really scared. And so we dove in. She worked with us for, I think, 3 months. But after the first 2 weeks, I got one of the most extraordinary emails I received from her after 2 weeks. We worked with her for an hour the first week, an hour the second week. And this is what happened after the first 2 weeks. She created 40,000 in recurring revenue after the first week. She's just like, I just found it. And it's amazing. This is incredible. And after 2 weeks, she had suddenly increased her rates by 30% without feeling fear or anxiety. She was sharing that her mood with the anxiety that she had been feeling every day, with that lifted, she said, life feels like bliss. She had revised her contracts. There was no guilt, no anxiety. Her procrastination was gone. She said, I'm on fire. I'm doing everything on my to-do list that's related to the money things that I had been putting off for 3 years. And then after she graduated, I think, again, we worked with her for 2 or 3 months. She wrote in another email after 4 months from her graduation. And she said, I've been in business, and forgive me, I can't remember if it was 9 years, 10 years, something around then. She said, I just passed $1 million in revenue. That wasn't my goal. I didn't know I could do that. But without these things slowing me down and holding me back and creating this friction, like the entire experience and relationship my experience with and relationship to money has changed. And I hit 7 figures. I never imagined I could do that. So this is what's possible for you when you shift your experience and your relationship to money. We get to look into that today together. So what I'd like to do is take a pause and ask what it's been like if you have tried to increase your rates in the past and have found it either difficult or scary or a challenge. Is anybody open to sharing what it's been like for them?
I'll share. This is Cynthia.
Hi.
Cynthia Stringer, Success by Design. I'm whitening my teeth at the same time, so I sound a little funny. So for me, the image has been sometimes like just raising my rates to keep up with the market and inflation. The image I have is like my hands out like this, and I'm like begging, please give me more money. Energetically, that's what it feels like. And I work with high net worth individuals and other types of clients, and it feels to me that when people have more assets or more income than I do, there's some kind of weird energy, jealousy or something that it makes, there's a block to receiving more, I find.
Thank you so much. There was some gold in what you just said and how you worded that, from the imagery that you shared to some of the words that I picked up, the jealousy piece or this asking for money. And what we're going to uncover today is that people can experience the same challenge. We could have 10 people experiencing procrastination or 10 people feeling challenged about raising their rates. And on the surface, everybody could come together and say, I'm having the same problem. I'm having that problem too. I'm struggling to raise my rates as well, or it's feeling challenging. But as we dive beneath the surface and do a little bit of this exploration and discovery in the workshop today, what we'll find is one of the reasons why self-help books and certain practices that are generalized may not work for so many people is because the root cause of why these things are happening is different for each person. And that's what we get to play with today, is looking at the unique individual root causes that on the surface, it looks like everybody's having the same thing. And why can't I just give one answer for everybody? But as we dive beneath it, we're going to uncover that everybody has different reasons for why they're experiencing their challenges. So Cynthia, that's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. What a way to kick this off. Is there anyone else? Yes, Deborah.
Good morning.
Hi.
I am in a service position. I'm a healthcare provider. I offer hands-on energy balancing as well as teach self-help acupressure to individuals, workplace wellness, kids in schools. And what I find is that, especially when it's coming to the one-on-ones, it feels like I'm offering a healthcare service. How can I charge more? I've felt like every time I've raised my rates, it's like, okay, we'll see what happens. And I do it in such slow, small increments that I have no idea if I know I'm not even close to what some people charge. And yet I seem to hold myself back because I am giving healthcare. How can I charge more?
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And we can notice with 2 shares, if we pay attention to the thoughts that Deborah is having and then the thoughts that Cynthia is having, we can see that they're having very different experiences. And while the end experience, the end result of not charging what they're worth is the same, and they may have some similarities if we were to dive in about some of their emotions, perhaps resistance or friction, a little bit of fear, anxiousness, uncertainty. What we're uncovering right now is the thoughts that they're experiencing are quite different. So we're going to come back and circle back to this later. So thank you both. That was a beautiful illustration. Thank you so much. Next, I know that some of you received the handout prior to arriving today, and there are quite a few questions to kind of get your juices flowing in regards to what your relationship is to money now and what your money story is at this point in time. Is there anyone who uncovered any insights or had any aha moments or learned something new or solidified something you had a hunch about in doing the homework or the pre-work?
I can share something.
Yes.
I think it was sort of an insight or clarity that, so what I want to change about my money story is that there's some sort of block around fully trusting that the flow of money, I can use that as a vehicle for something that really matters to me. Like kind of like trusting that coming through me for something.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. All right. And Ginny.
Yeah, I just got the handout, but I read it and I went, oh God, I know. Yeah, it's like, yeah. I came, my family was not very wealthy. And so we were quite poor and we didn't have enough. There wasn't enough. We only have X amount of dollars. And so that was what was instilled. And it really shaped my childhood because I didn't want to ask for anything because I wasn't used to having the money for it. And so who am I to ask people to pay me for a service? I've learned over the years how to do that. So yeah, but money's always been a problem. And why should I make more than my father or people in the family? And I still struggle with that and going, oh, I'm making more than my sister, you know? So it's the family dynamics. There's a lot of us. And so some are making money and some aren't. So you go, oh, that's beautiful. It's a lot of childhood memories. Yeah. A lack of money as a child.
That's phenomenal that you're able to go back and remember those pieces. And what I want to bring attention and awareness to for what Ginny was sharing is that she was able to remember these past experiences. And what they do is, you'll notice she's having interesting thoughts, sometimes in the form of questions or just statements. Who am I to have money? Money is always a problem. These really interesting statements. It's almost like we could grab those and put them down on a sheet of paper and come up with a list of these statements or questions. Who am I? Money is a problem. Thank you so much for that share. That was brilliant. Okay, Dawn.
So I, like Jenny, I hadn't read it either, but in just looking at it, I was born in Los Angeles, but we moved up to Eureka where my mom grew up when my brother and I were 2 and 3. And I think we lived with my grandmother. And so it was my mom and dad, my brother and I, when Mike and I were very small, all living in the same room. For about 7 or 8 years before my dad started his automobile dealership, which was very successful. And I've done a lot of work on money blocks, and my sense of one of the things that's come up for me is there was an awful lot of stress between my parents over money while they thought Mike and I had gone to bed and were asleep. So I think there's a whole lot of stuff that has been there, and I've worked to clear a lot of it, but I'm still wondering how much of that is still affecting me.
Okay, that's brilliant. Thank you so much. I love it. This is all, we're starting to see these pieces of same challenge, different past experiences, different statements. And what's interesting is as we move forward, we're going to find out these kind of lists of these blocks or these challenges. It's a unique, it's a unique list and a unique combination for each person. So we're going to honor that uniqueness and the uniqueness of each of our pasts and look at how we can get really clear about what's in our way so that we can then eliminate it. So thank you so much for the shares, everybody. I'll move forward. And the first thing that is so important that I want to create an invitation for today, when I see people who are experiencing some form of challenge, procrastination, nervousness, imposter syndrome, a lot of these pieces tie into feeling frozen when it comes to charging what one's worth. The heartbreaking piece is oftentimes I will hear, even at this conference that I'm here at, I heard it so many times yesterday, and I'll hear, it's just who I am. It's just who I am. And someone will refer to their Myers-Briggs, or, I'm this on the DISC profile, or, it's because I'm the 4 on an Enneagram. It's just who I am. Or they'll say, well, I was raised in this household, so that's how I'm going to be. And oftentimes people will feel stuck or frustrated, and they'll make it part of who they are as a person. And when you start to say, I'm this type of person, or I am this, it locks you in. And it creates this identity that can't be changed. And that's so far away from the reality of what I see day in and day out. When you are experiencing a struggle like this, it's not who you are, it's not your identity, it's not your personality, it's not some personality type. You're simply experiencing some form of a pattern that is repeated. And guess what? A pattern is something that a whole person experiences. A pattern is outside of you, and patterns can be identified and then deleted and cleared. I want to invite you to take a breath in and just fill yourself with this awareness that there's nothing wrong with you and you're not broken. And this is not unchangeable. We see it shifted day in and day out. It's not permanent or who you are. It's just a pattern that you're experiencing. And that's quite freeing. And what's interesting is someone will say, no, I've been working on this for years. And not surprisingly, the stickier patterns, the ones that people find difficult to change, are ones where they collect more information and they implement more strategies. Maybe they work with a consultant or a financial advisor. They change their actions, they map out plans, they put all this energy and effort into it, but they get the same results. And again, that's not because it's who they are, it's because how they are approaching it is dealing with the symptoms instead of identifying the root cause of why they're stuck and then deleting it. So remember this list I showed you earlier, and I said these are the problems, these are the issues that people work with. They're just patterns. These are all patterns, just like not being able to charge what you're worth is a pattern. And there are 3 parts of a pattern. And this next piece is really important, so pay close attention. Sometimes when people struggle to change, it's because they generalize their pattern. They say, I just have money blocks. Working on money blocks, that's a big challenge. That's hard. How do you work on a money block? If you were to go to someone and say, I need help. I need help with my money block. My money block is frustrating. And it's just this general label that's challenging. One of the ways you can really begin to make a dent in your relationship to money, and this goes for money challenges, patterns, as well as any other pattern in your life, is to get clear. So when you are mapping out and writing out what your actual pattern is, keep in mind that most patterns have different parts. When you were each sharing about your past experiences, I heard there are certain thoughts that come to mind, like, who am I? I heard different emotions, nervousness, anxiety, and fear. And then there's a behavior element too. If we really start to get clear, every time I try to bring up money to a client, or when I set a deadline for increasing my rates, so we can begin to start taking control and power back and allowing ourselves to shift when we can clearly identify what our pattern is. The more clear and specific we can be, the more likely we can eliminate the pattern. Think about being able to work on something that sounds like this. Each time I get on a phone call with a client to let them know we are increasing our rates by 20%, I start to feel pounding heart, I feel anxiety throughout my body, and I have the thoughts that they are going to fire. Cool. We can point to that. We can actually help shifts and change. We can work with that. Versus, I get on calls and I have money. So the first part is I invite you, as you sit down to think about what you're actually experiencing, is get clear on patterns. You may, instead of saying I have money blocks, suddenly go, I have 7 different unique patterns that relate to money and being able to chart what I'm worth. I'm having patterns about not determining my new rate. I have patterns about not showing up to calls with my advisor. I have patterns that relate to not speaking up in conversations with my clients. So clarity around what you're actually experiencing is very important as we're trying to bring awareness to what's actually going on so it can be cleared. So here's that psychology. Why is this happening? I've worked so hard on this. I'm aware of things. I know the feelings I'm having, I'm procrastinating. Why am I struggling to raise my rates? Explain the psychology behind it. Will do. That's what we get to do here. So when you've been throwing more energy and more effort and more strategies and actions, and you receive advice, and you come to webinars or workshops like this and aren't working, there's very much clear reason behind it. And I'm going to explain it to you in an almost a very rudimentary sort of way. It'll be very fun. It'll look very simple. You may even chuckle, but please don't let the simplicity of this explanation fool you. We're going to go back to the basics, look at it in the most simple way, and it will apply directly to your money situation and to your challenges around charging what you're worth. But we're going to start with a very simple example here. This example is going to show you how your beliefs, not just your thoughts, not just your fears or concerns or worries, but your actual beliefs are acting like lines of code or a software program. And these lines of code are running on loop 24/7 in the background in your subconscious. And they are impacting how you think, how you act. So we're going to take a look at, many people have heard this, but when I map this out and show you visually, for many people, this really locks in and makes a lot more sense. So here's our simplistic and yet quite fun scientific drawing that's going to help you understand and lock in what's going on so that you can better take your specific situation and get to the root causes of what's behind it. So here in our example, let's pretend you move to a neighborhood, new neighborhood, and there are cats everywhere. So you move in and it's you go to sleep and you wake up, it's your first day in this new neighborhood, and you decide to go for a walk in the morning and you step outside of your home to go on a walk, and suddenly you see a cat approaching you. Perhaps this neighborhood has cats everywhere. The thing about this visualization, and what I want you to imagine, is that in your mind, you believe that cats are dangerous. Perhaps you had a traumatic experience when you were a child and a cat bit you and you bled. In your mind, there is a part of you that truly believes that cats are dangerous. Okay? If you have that belief, cats are dangerous, and you walk outside and there's a cat walking towards you, and some very simple questions. First question, what are some of the thoughts you're going to have if you have the belief that cats are dangerous? And anybody can just popcorn answer.
I better run.
Better run. Beautiful. Absolutely. What's another thought that you may have if you have belief it's dangerous and there's a cat coming at you?
Cross to the other side of the street.
I need to cross to the other side of the street. One more. What other thought that may bubble up into your mind?
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. Perfect. Makes sense. Uh-oh. Gotta run. Okay. Now, tell me, how are you going to feel? What are you going to feel in your body, or perhaps what emotions may you experience if there's a cat coming towards you and you have the belief that cats are dangerous?
Fear.
Absolutely. Fear. Thank you. What else might you feel?
Anxiety.
And what might you feel in your body?
Sweat, accelerated breathing, all those things.
Constriction, unable to move, you're literally feeling stuck in place.
Perfect. Absolutely. All perfect answers. Okay. How might you act if you have that cats are dangerous coming towards? So what I want everyone to notice is that the thoughts that were experienced, the feelings and emotions that were experienced, and the actions that were experienced, they all sprouted from the root of that belief. Some people may try to change how they think, like, no, cats are great, or they may try to, meditate or deep breathe and change how they feel. But at the end of the day, that belief is going to continue to sprout those thoughts, those feelings, and our actions. So let's make this real. Let's pretend that you wake up the next day and suddenly there's amnesia, or a fairy has come and just hit you over the head with a magic wand, and that belief, cats are dangerous, does not exist anywhere in your mind. It's simply gone, just not there. And just like the day before, you walk out of your front door, you go for a walk, and there's another cat, this time starting to walk straight towards you. This time the belief cats are dangerous does not exist in your head. As this cat is walking towards you, you're the same person, same place. What thoughts may you have? What thoughts will cross your mind?
I might admire how beautiful it is, how lithe and the way it moves.
What a beautiful cat. Perfect. What's another thought you may have as the cat's coming towards you?
It's coming towards me.
Yes, cat's coming towards me. Perfect. Now, what feelings or emotions might you experience with this cat walking towards you today?
Might you want to reach out and pet it?
Absolutely. How might you feel in your body as the cat's walking towards you?
Joyful, pleasure,
Okay.
readiness to receive the, the compassion that a cat wants to bring to you when you are compatible.
Beautiful. That's absolutely a possibility. And then how might you act?
Thought that occurred to me is that cat's up really early. And so the feeling might be admiration for the cat.
Love it. Love it. Absolutely possible. All right. And then how may you act? What might be possible ways that you could act?
Well, I would want to touch it. I love cats, but I would pet it, get near it, get to know it, want to see all about it if it wants to approach me. Maybe it's afraid of me.
Invite it to join me on the walk.
Yep. Love it. Love it. These are all perfect. So let's pause. And I want to orient us towards something that's mind-blowing and phenomenal, but so easy to overlook. Wildly different thoughts bubbling to the surface. Like sometimes we think, oh, I control what I think and I'm working on what I think. But I want you to notice the difference between all the thoughts that showed up in your mind with one belief and how wildly different they were without you doing anything other than that belief not being there. Notice how different the body sensations and the feelings and the emotions were with the same stimuli, without any hard work or repetition or consulting or working on it or journaling or anything. The difference, one belief before and after. And then notice all the different possible actions and behaviors that one might engage in. Like how wildly different they were, how natural they felt. with no hard work, no repetition, no forcing anything, no, I'm going to try and do this, and I'm going to work on doing this, and I'm going to walk up and be brave to the cat, and I'm going to pet it even though I have anxiety and fear and thoughts. Wildly different experience, thoughts, feelings, emotions, body sensations, actions, possibilities. Completely different experience of how you are experiencing life. And the only thing that changed was one single belief. That's extraordinary. This subtraction of beliefs and memories and past traumas is the key to rapid transformation. It's the key to someone being able to suddenly charge what they're worth after an hour or two, instead of having to work on it hard for years. When people work on their challenges, they're usually trying to change their thoughts, their feelings, or their actions. They're trying to change, I'm trying to change I don't want to think the who am I. I don't want to have the feelings of anxiety. So I'm going to try and meditate before calls and take some deep breaths. I'm going to really try and have more conversations. I'm going to work at it. But what I want you to notice is when people work at their thoughts, feelings, and actions, they're working on the symptoms. These things have already shown up, and people are trying to manage and deal with their symptoms. When the root cause and the reason they're experiencing these challenges is because of a belief, or more realistically, a cluster of beliefs. Most of life is not as simple as this cat example where there's one belief and everything changes. Usually it's a cluster of them. This is the possibility I want to create for you today, where if you've ever felt frustrated and you've had challenges with money, it's very likely you've been trying to change thoughts, feelings, and actions. If we shift energy and focus and say, what if we put our energy towards identifying and then eliminating the beliefs that are causing these things, so much can change for you, and quickly. And that's quite exciting. Beliefs are the key to charging what you're worth. And being able to do that soon, not something like 10 years from now. Beliefs are different than thoughts. Beliefs are the tapes that are running in the background that sprout the thoughts and the worries and the concerns and the different variations of that they're the ones that are on repeat in the background that you don't want to hear, that you're trying to quiet, that you wish you could mute. But what we want to be able to do is hit the stop button on those. Just like with cats are dangerous, when you hit stop, suddenly those thoughts stop sprouting and you don't have to manage them. So when people say, okay, what do you do with beliefs? Well, there's two parts to the process. First, we have to acknowledge that they exist and they're the main core root of our stickiest challenges. And that's this experience today. We're creating this possibility to change. That understanding the psychology behind feeling stuck with this is to explore beliefs. Once we create that possibility, and now it's like, oh, perhaps I can approach this differently. What we need to do is first identify, what are my beliefs? This is where that one-size-fits-all approach in many of the books fall flat, is because we need to identify what your unique beliefs are. They're going to be different than everybody else's here. Your cluster of beliefs that are keeping you from being able to charge what you're worth is as unique as you are. Now, once you've identified and mapped out the core beliefs, then it's a matter of subtracting. And there are so many technologies and ways of subtracting beliefs these days that have come out in the past few years that are very effective, and different techniques work for different people. We'll go over a few at the end, but the identification is the core part. Because if you are working on beliefs that aren't related to your challenge and that aren't deeply personal to you, it doesn't matter what subtraction you do or who you work with, you won't shift. So we're going to put our energy on the identification piece, and then you're free at the end. We'll explore different ways for you to actually do that subtraction. So let's go back to Lee. Remember her from a few minutes ago? We worked with her, remember I said, for a couple weeks, and she had all of those incredible changes that for many people go, that's too good to be true. That can't happen. What did you do with her? What kind of sorcery was that? There's no sorcery. What we did is we identified and then eliminated her primary beliefs that were related to her not being able to charge what she was worth. This was week 1. See if any of these resonate, even a little bit for you. If they do, you're welcome to write them down, and if they don't, it's fine. Now, keep in mind, these were hers. We're going to go into an experience and a process to help you identify yours. But if any of these jump out to you, you may jot them down. You're welcome to. This was her week 1. Notice she had a worthiness piece. Like, I am not worthy of being successful. She had this sense that no matter what she did or how well she did her work, it was never good enough. She felt like she didn't deserve more than others. And then she had a very interesting one where she was really concerned that if she does well and the better she does, her success would mean other people would get hurt. Her going up meant other people had to go down. So that was week 1. And then we continued our work with her on week 2. And these were the other 3 that we uncovered and then cleared for her. Though she was phenomenal at what she did, there was a part of her that felt not competent. And even though she had raving fans and very happy clients, a part of her felt like she didn't provide value. And then she also uncovered, as we did a bit of exploration, a part of her felt like she always had to put others' needs, others' wants, and other people in front of her. And that was the right thing to do. And that if she did not, it made her a bad person. So who here can see how if these tapes are playing in the back of someone's mind 24/7, and these lines of code are running, and this is 24/7, does it make sense to you that she would struggle to raise her rates and charge what she was worth? Makes sense. We make sense. And you make sense. So let's take a look. This is what we did with Lee. And this is what you get to do. This is the simple formula. Identify and then subtract the root cause of the challenge around raising your prices. And the root cause is the belief, not the thoughts or the worries or the emotions. Those are the symptoms being created by the beliefs. When you do this, everything will occur to you differently. And not only will your business improve, but you'll also start to notice that your life improves, because these beliefs do have impacts on all the different areas of our life. I also want to point out that high achievers and leaders often have this drive to do more. Well, if I just meditate more, if I just journal more, if I just go to more meetings, if I just work harder, that will solve the problem. I'll put more energy on it. If I'm only working this much, then I'll work this much. I'll do more. And I just want to bring attention to the fact that Lee didn't add anything. She didn't work at telling herself she was a good person. She didn't need to convince herself that she was worthy. There was no convincing or hard work or adding anything to her mind or her emotions. It was simply subtraction of what was in her way. And she got those phenomenal results in changing her thinking and her feeling and her actions, all without having to do anything new. It's simply subtraction. So when I talk about actually fully 100% deleting or clearing or eliminating a belief, I'll often run into resistance. And people will say, no, you can't do that. That's impossible. And yet we clear other people's beliefs every day. These are some of the most common ones. I like to give this example because people chuckle. They go, oh yeah, at one point in time, I did believe in those guys. And I'm curious, show of hands, have any of you ever struggled with these beliefs coming back once they were actually cleared? Did you wake up at age 32 and suddenly go, oh shoot, Easter Bunny's back. Like, oh, I believe in the Easter Bunny again. When a belief is properly cleared, it's cleared, just like these beliefs. And it doesn't return, it doesn't bother you. Oh. Sorry, I got a notification that popped up. All right, so let's make this real. Let's start a bit of self-exploration and discovery and take what we just learned and see how it relates directly to you. What we're going to do again is start with this identification piece. We need to identify what your map is and what your list and cluster of beliefs are before they can be subtracted. And the easiest way to do this, I did have this other list. I wanted to provide this to you. When I went through a number of our other clients recently who had had challenges charging what they were worth, these are some of the most common money beliefs that people found were blocking them from being able to increase their rates and feel comfortable having the money conversations. You may resonate with one or more of these, or as you're looking through this list, you may go, oh, that's not quite the right word. It's not my success hurts others, it's my happiness hurts others. And when I'm happy, that other people are going to suffer. So take a look at this list and see if there's anything that jumps out at you, that if you say it to yourself, perhaps you feel something in your body, or you experience a burst of emotion, maybe a little bit of sadness, or a yes, some way that your body or your system reacts to these. And just take a moment, and if any of these jump out at you, just jot them down. Okay. Did anyone here, raise your hand, did anyone here notice one of these items on the list that felt real to them? Okay, great.
Can I have one that jumped out at me, but I don't see it on the list. Could I share it?
Yeah. Yes, that'd be amazing. Yeah.
It may be in here, but like what I offer isn't valuable to people, or it's not worth the money for them.
Mm-hmm. Perfect.
That's sort of in the I'm not deserving sort of thing, but it wasn't exactly that. And that was the language, like what I have is not valuable.
That is so perfect. That is exquisite. You even have the wording down, because some people will go, I'm not valuable, but yours is what I have to offer is not valuable. Can you see how if you're sitting there going, okay, this week I'm raising my rates, and there's a tape going, what you have to offer is not valuable. That's going to create part of you that's trying to move forward, and then another part of you that's like, there's no way you can, which has that internal tug of war going back and forth. That's a phenomenal belief to identify. Very well done. Thank you for sharing that.
Just one quick one. Message I got when I was young is from my mother is, it's hard for us money-wise.
Perfect. Very well done.
So I'm not hearing
Very
anything.
well done.
Can I ask another question?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I used to work with corporations and charge big fees. And I was fine with that because for me, it was the corporation that was paying. Now I work with individuals and I feel that I add value, but my struggle is, how can I charge this kind of money from an individual? Can they afford it?
Mm-hmm. That's brilliant. So there's the question. That's the thought. So that, remember the boxes, that's a thought. How can I charge this much money to an individual? How can an individual afford it? So the belief is likely going to be something like, people can't afford what I have, what I charge. People can't afford what I'm worth. If I charge an individual this amount of money, it will hurt them. So that's what I would invite you to explore is, are you hurting them? Can they not afford you? What you're going to find is the belief there that has shifted since you didn't have an issue doing it with corporations. So that was extraordinary that you caught on to the difference, that it's not about, I'm not worthy and I'm not deserving, because you're sitting there going, I did it in the past. This has more to do with the fear and the issues and the beliefs around what individuals can do versus corporations. Very well done. Okay, we're going to jump forward, and I'm going to give you the key to how you can begin to start uncovering all of these beliefs. Some of you ones that resonate, some of you have grabbed ones that you see up on the screen. What I'm going to show you is what we call our gold nugget question. And I use it every day, our team uses it every day when people are trying to get to these root causes in their cluster of beliefs. This gold nugget question is so perfect. So if you take anything away from today, let's have it be the next slide, because this is the question that once you start asking this, and it's a habit to ask yourself this, it becomes so powerful. Here's the question. What would I have to believe to be true in order to keep experiencing this pattern? So think about the pattern. Remember, we talked about how there's a behavior, a thought, and an emotion. Think about the pattern you're experiencing. Examine it. And then ask the question, what would I have to believe to be true in order to keep experiencing this? A couple tips I can offer is sometimes when we ask questions about ourselves, it can be tricky. So if it helps, you can say, what would someone else have to believe to be true if they were experiencing this over and over? And putting it in the third party, that's a great tip. Some people find it very difficult to answer the question about themselves, and then other people find it very easy to answer it about someone else. And then the other tip I have is sometimes when it's like, I don't know what I believe. Remember that with beliefs, say money is the root of all evil. Sometimes it's just a part of us that believes something. Just a part of us. So even if you don't fully believe it, and you're like, I don't really believe that, does a part of you believe it? That's the question. Does a part of you believe it? And if so, it's playing in the background on loop. So those two tips, what would someone else have to believe to be true? And what does a part of me believe to be true, can really help make this question go from challenging to answer to easier. So let's play. Let's start to explore what some of your beliefs are. And we're going to break this down into 4 simple steps that are going to allow you to have your initial cluster of beliefs that are relevant to you as they relate to your specific unique pattern as it relates to charging what you're worth. So we're going to walk through these 4 steps, we're going to share, and then what we're going to do is wrap up with an embodied experience so you will be able to feel in your body what it's like to not have those anymore. It's really fun. So let's do a little bit of play here. Okay, so step 1 of 4 is we are going to each do a little bit better at defining what our pattern is. So charge what I'm worth. I have a hard time charging what I'm worth. That's a great start. But let's actually look at what is clearly going on beneath the surface. Is it that you're actually having a hard time knowing what to charge? Are you struggling to, perhaps you raised your rates, but you're struggling to tell, like Lee was, tell your clients about them or put them into the contract? Is it that you secretly know what you want to be able to bill, and every time you go to do that, you lower the number and you just bump it up by a tiny bit, and then you feel safe? Each person here in our session today is going to have, their patterns are going to look different. So what is the behavior you're engaging in or not engaging in? Write it out. Let's get clear. And then to really flesh it out, I want you to notice the emotions and the thoughts that are showing up alongside this behavior. So I think with Lee, it was when I go to speak to my clients to tell them I'm raising my rates, I experience a racing heart, trepidation, and fear. And her thoughts were, the thoughts that were bubbling up were, and I have the thoughts, they're going to fire me. That's a clear pattern that we were able to work with. Take a moment and flesh out your thoughts, emotions, and your behavior. All right, let's take another 15 seconds or so. And don't worry about getting it just right. This is a practice. This is your first time. You can hone and refine this. And remember, you likely have a number of different patterns. So don't try to cram everything into one pattern. I find that the more I can break something like struggling to charge what I'm worth into, say, 2 or 3 or 4 or even 5 different patterns, the easier it is for me to identify the root causes of those unique patterns. The bigger the pattern, like imagine trying to figure out all the beliefs related to anxiety versus I feel fear, I try to walk up and ask someone out for a date, versus trying to figure out anxiety. So when you can break your patterns down into bite-sized chunks, you increase the likelihood that you'll actually be able to clear them. This is part of the exploration and discovery process, is taking this away from this is who you are and taking this away from a money problem and going, no, these are unique, small, bite-sized money patterns. And we increase the likelihood of being able to move through these quickly when we can name them with more precision. Who would be open and willing to share with the group what your pattern is?
Well, I'll go. So,
Yeah.
by the way, I missed 25 minutes. I was logged off. So hopefully what I'm going to say is not out of context. But for me, I'm in marketing research and I do ad hoc studies and I'll do contract work that could last for weeks or months. So I've kind of got two situations that have a little different patterns, but underlying both is knowing what to charge. So kind of the behavior I have is, well, if it's an ad hoc one-off, I can charge more because it's kind of a one-off thing. It's not a longer term commitment. If it's a longer term commitment, then I drop my rate because it's more steady work and something that may be more palatable to the client. So it's really, for me, it's knowing what to charge is kind of the bottom line question.
Okay, so would you say that the pattern that you're experiencing, the pattern that you want to shift is when I engage in certain projects, I feel unclear about what the exact amount is to charge, and I feel uncertain about what it is I want to charge? Is that your pattern?
Precisely.
Okay. It actually sounds like perhaps instead of an internal block, there's simply perhaps finding a consultant or having a specific amount of data or someone to work with you to map out some clear numbers might actually solve your challenge?
Yeah, I mean, what's kind of the prevailing rate for somebody like me with my level of experience?
Got it. That's brilliant. So for everybody listening, as consultants, oftentimes we have a challenge, A, and we're trying to get to B. With Roger here, he just needs some information and data. He probably just needs a consultant. I remember there's someone on this call who helps people charge more, right? They can provide the information, they can have data, and here's rates that would be reasonable. He just needs some more information. For others of you, You may have that information in the data and you've put in hard work and you're like, I know what I need to charge, but I'm stuck and I can't seem to do it. And that's where we're looking at untangling the root causes of feeling stuck and feeling unable to charge what we're worth. Roger, it sounds like you might, with a phone call or two, be able to collect the information that you need from an expert, have some confidence, and move forward.
I was recruited to work on a series of studies for a major marketing research company. And I told him what my rate was. And he said, boy, that's pretty high, but we had this great resignation, so I'm not in a position to negotiate with you. So that helped me kind of set a threshold for future work.
Cool. Very cool. Thank you for your share. Would someone else be open to sharing what their pattern is, what they wrote down?
I'll share, Herb. Boy, this is very, very useful. I've got 4 situations here where they're, in quote, friends of the family. So I've been okay charging less. And that's a pattern. That's lately that's been a pattern for me, and I can't repeat that. And the other one falls in the same category. It's actually a relationship with a friend, a longtime friend, and it's been a drain on my emotional capital. It's the same kind of thing, and I can't do that anymore. It's bigger than just the client situation. This is going to give me a lot of great work to do. Thank you.
And if I can read between the lines of a little bit of what you're saying, what I think I heard is one of your patterns is when I know someone, when it's a family member or friend or someone I care about, my pattern is I lower my rates. I don't charge what I know I'm worth when it's someone that I know or care about. That's powerful to be able to have that clarity, because then we can see what's underneath the surface about what may happen or what it means about you if you charge a full price to people who you know. Really good work. All right, let's do one more share. Anna or Anna?
Hi, Erin. I'm really enjoying the presentation. Yeah. I think that one of my roadblocks is that I work with small business owners, and I feel that I cannot charge what I think I'm worth because I would be hurting them. That's really my major roadblock, because I would be impacting their budget and ultimately their business, which is what I'm supposed to help.
Okay, this is beautiful. This is such a good learning opportunity too. There's so much in what you just said. May I use what you just shared to teach an interesting point to the group?
Please.
Okay, so here's one of the things that starts happening. When we get excited and we start talking about beliefs and we get clear and, oh my gosh, I'm doing this just with friends, or actually oh gosh, I'm gonna hurt someone. We start to mix up the beliefs and then the thoughts and the feelings and everything, right? It all kind of comes together. Like Anna, you started to uncover some of the beliefs underneath the surface. And it can be interesting where we start to jump back to, oh, this happened because of this event. Or, oh, I believe that money, if I charge what I'm worth, I'll hurt people. You'll get the most out of this experience, and you'll find it easiest to begin to work through these things if you can first come up with that clear pattern statement. So this worry about I will hurt people if I charge them full price, that's actually, you're already jumping, you're getting very clear. That's one of your beliefs. What is the pattern though? Like what is the behavior? When I want to increase my rates and talk about money, I avoid it and I charge a lower amount. Because we want to always be able to come back to our pattern and say, has that changed? Before we start going and working on beliefs. And the reason I share this sequence in order of operations is that what I've seen with people who do this type of work, because some of you have heard of beliefs before, you're like, this is old news. I've worked on beliefs. here's the thing. When you work on beliefs kind of willy-nilly and you clear this one and you get rid of, if I charge what I'm worth, I'll hurt people. And you go after this belief and you're like, money's the root of all evil and I'm not deserving. And you're like, I just got rid of 3 beliefs. Did that work? Does this work? Is any of this helping? I guess it's good, right? And you kind of go after beliefs randomly. There's no pattern to come back to see if it's shifting and changing. You want to have the pattern to be like, this is what I'm working on. I want to identify the beliefs related to this pattern. And as I clear the beliefs, I come back, is this pattern changing? Is it getting easier for me? Is it going away? And that allows you to gauge if the work you're doing is working, because we want to see if we're changing your pattern. Does that make sense? What I'm sharing is pattern first, then beliefs, identifying and then clearing the beliefs as they relate to very clear, specific patterns. Otherwise, when people just dive in and they start identifying beliefs and getting rid of them here and there, they start to get frustrated and go, I don't think this is helping me. They may not even realize it's making a big difference because they're not coming back to what is my pattern I'm trying to change. Thank you so much. Yeah, that was great. All right, so we've got our pattern here and we've got this 4-step process. Let's look at step number 2. Step number 2, after you have your pattern, we're going to do a mini exercise here. So I want you to just sit back in your chair, put your hands in your lap, close your eyes. It'll take just a minute. And what you're going to do is imagine, fully imagine, be there in the imagination. Like see what you'd see, feel what you'd feel the texture, the breeze if you're outdoors, hear what you would hear. And I want you to imagine a situation in the future where this pattern shows up for you. Maybe you're calling the client, maybe you're sitting down to rewrite your contract, maybe you're in a meeting. Whatever your pattern is, fully imagine it's happening to you right now. Make it as real as you can. And as you do, pay attention to the thoughts that start to bubble up, and then the feelings and the body sensations that you begin to experience as you make this real. And we'll give you maybe 20 seconds or so to sit with this. Just a few more seconds. All right, now open your eyes and blink and come back to the present. Take a breath in and out. You're not there anymore. And here's what to do next. Very simple. On your paper in front of you, jot down those emotions that you started to feel in the body sensations. Jot down the thoughts that started to jump into your mind. And just make an initial list. Okay. This doesn't have to be comprehensive. We're just doing the test run. You're welcome to do this as many times as you'd like after today's workshop as you get better and better at this process. So here's the 4th and final step. Look at those thoughts. Look at those emotions. And I want you to ask yourself that gold nugget question. What might I have to believe to be true to experience these emotions and thoughts. And see, we're working on this in a very sequential way. We start with the pattern. We imagine it happening. We allow the thoughts and the emotions to arise and be experienced. And then number 4, we ask the gold nugget question. Wow, okay. I have these interesting thoughts and emotions. I'm going to brainstorm, what might I believe to be true about myself, about others, or about the world in order to be experiencing these thoughts and emotions. Don't worry about getting something right or having the exact right wording. Just brainstorm. The more you do this, the easier these brainstorms get. Just take another minute or two. Okay. Now, who would be open to sharing with the group your pattern, and then some of those thoughts and emotions, and then the beliefs, the 1, 2, 3 part. Yeah, Ginny.
I was raising my hand for one thing because I'm okay. My pattern is different. I'm wondering, am I charging too much? In other words,
Okay, so what is the pattern?
The pattern is, I mean, I feel I can charge because of my background. I feel I can charge that, but the pattern is, one, they can't afford me. Is that a pattern?
That's a belief. People can't afford me.
Okay.
That's the belief. People can't afford me. That's the statement. So the pattern sounds like when I go to tell people my rates, I worry, or I feel concerned they won't want to pay me.
Right. Oh yeah, that's the pattern. In other words, I get a little nervous when I tell them my rates. So then that's always my pattern. It's like that's my pattern. I believe I'm worthy of that rate, but I get nervous telling the rate.
All right. So interesting. Remember that part about sometimes a part of us can believe something and a part of us doesn't? I used to believe if you had talked to me in high school, I would have said, I'm so smart, I get straight A's. But if you had looked at my diary, you would have seen, I'm so stupid, I'm an idiot. I blew it, I got a B. But part of me would have been like, if someone said, you're dumb, I would have said, absolutely not, I'm so smart. We can have different parts. So I hear you saying, I'm worthy. My question is there a part of you that doesn't believe you're worthy? And maybe it's not worthy, maybe it's not deserving, maybe you simply believe most people can't afford. So
yes, that is the pattern. And it took me a long time. I mean, I kept increasing my rates and gotten very nervous about it, but I have to tell the rate, and I tell it very tentatively. It's this an hour? Like, so, yeah.
Yes. So what you'll notice is, notice the thoughts that are showing up. The thoughts are going to give you the clues to what your belief is. Is it, they're not going to be able to afford me? Is it, it's not okay for me to charge this much? No, here, if you can pay attention to the thoughts will help you uncover what's underneath the surface.
They can't afford me. Because they're a small business. They don't have a lot. It's not a lot. It's not that it took me a long time to realize I deserve it, but yeah, they can't afford me. And so they'll just, I can't use you. So you lose a client.
Got it. Small businesses can't afford me. That would make your thoughts and emotions and your pattern make sense. So that would be probably one of the main beliefs I'd write down. Small businesses can't afford me. Cool.
And they'll be
Good work.
shocked. I wrote that down. They'll be shocked.
Small businesses will be shocked when they hear what my rates. Perfect. Write that down. That's a perfect one.
Yep. That's what I wrote.
All right. I want to make sure we stay on time. Is there one other person who would be willing to share today?
Yeah, this is Joey, and the thought that is coming up for me over and over again is like, I don't know, like when you say charge what you're worth, I don't know what I'm worth. That's the immediate thought that comes up for me.
Cool. So then let's identify the pattern.
I was gonna say, so like when you say charge what you're worth, I'm like, I don't know what I'm worth. And then the situation is there's a level of hesitancy and doubt in terms of being able to say, this is what I'm worth.
Cool. So it's not like there's an amount and then you have doubt or fear or worry. You simply feel it's almost like you're missing a piece of data and you need some help, perhaps identifying what would feel like a good rate based on your experience and what other people are charging.
Yeah, maybe that is, or in the understanding the value of this for the client.
Okay, got it. So if there's some type of external information or data, such as I'd like to know what other people feel that I'm worth, or what other people would pay, or what other client or consultants are charging, or what might be an appropriate amount. Those are things that you can research. You could work with a consultant to help you find the right rates. You could go and interview clients to see what they would experience, how they might want to pay you. There's information you could go out and collect and have within a week to see what people would think is a good amount to pay, what they feel comfortable with, how they value you. You could collect that information and then have a number, whether by getting other people or doing some research. If you are nervous to do that research, then we have a different pattern. And then we could come back and work on anything that's blocking you internally. Right now, it sounds like you're just missing some information and some data that you could go out and collect. And perhaps you could brainstorm or have someone else help you think about how to collect that information or how to interview clients or a consultant that works specifically with pricing. And within a week's time, you could have some numbers. And then you could see if you're comfortable with those or not. But do you see how it feels like there's a piece of data or information that you're missing at this point?
Yeah, no, I get that now. Thanks. I appreciate that.
Yeah, that's a great clarification. Okay, so what we're going to do in our remaining minutes, I want to make sure everybody has time, and then we might have a few minutes for Q&A at the end. So we've got patterns, we've got thoughts, emotions, we've got a brainstorm of beliefs. I want you to be able to experience, let's take that cat example and make it real to you in your body. You know how I said, imagine you had amnesia or there was a fairy that came along and pulled out that belief that cats are dangerous. And how extraordinary it is that thoughts, emotions, and actions can all change just from nothing more than beliefs shifting. Let's experience that now and what that's like so that you get at an embodied level that it doesn't have to take hard work or repetition or trying to cross out your thoughts and force yourself through this, that it could actually be easy to shift. So if you'd be so kind, let's sit back in your chairs again. Hands in your lap and close your eyes. And take a deep breath in and out. And what I'd like for you to do is imagine crawling into your bed tonight, and getting under the sheets, and it's warm and cozy, and drifting off to sleep. And at some point, as you're sleeping soundly tonight, a miracle happens. And those beliefs that you jotted down on your paper they go away. They're subtracted. They are deleted and cleared from your mind. They're just not there anymore. And this is happening as you sleep. And then it's tomorrow morning, and a sliver of light comes through the crack in the window. You blink your eyes, you open your eyes, and you realize, whoa, I don't believe those things anymore. And your eyes dart around and you go, they're just not there. No part of me believes those things anymore. It's a miracle. I'd like for you to take the next 20 seconds. Suspend disbelief. Simply imagine this has happened and notice how your body feels. What you notice in your body. What suddenly seems possible, and what thoughts start to arise in your mind. And just notice. And take another very deep breath in, all the way in. Let it all the way out. And blink and slowly open your eyes and come back to the present. Now, let's do a couple quick shares. Who would like to share what they noticed and what that experience was like for them, how things felt different, with nothing different about who you are or what you've done or repetition. The only thing different being belief different. Yes, Dawn.
The thought that what came to me, Erin, is the difference in subtracting a belief versus trying to install a new belief that's the opposite. And in this exercise, what came up is, I don't know what's going to happen, but it's exciting to look forward to see how things are different than what I've been doing. And it's that subtracting the belief that is so different than anything that I've done before, and then allowing to emerge what wants to emerge. So thank you.
Oh, it's so beautiful. That is the simplest and yet key point. Over and over, we see people trying to force themselves to believe something. I deserve money. I deserve happiness. Money is for people who aren't selfish, and they try to convince themselves of something. But if you don't subtract the belief that's on the loop, the tape in the background first, you're trying to cram something else in, and you've got two opposing beliefs fighting against each other. And that's maddening. So that's such a beautiful distinction. Thank you so much for that share. One more share. Anybody?
I have one.
Yeah.
What it feels like is when I'm an energy balancing person. So when I feel the energy change in the release, in other words, feel the exhale first. Allow it all to let go on the exhale. That's the purge. Then it's easier to receive. Then it's much easier for your whole body on all layers and levels to recognize the new possibilities in the breath and the energy flow in the new way of being.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
That's beautiful. Thank you. It was a aha moment, a huge aha moment.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for the share. Yeah. Now, some people, this experience is enough for them to shake things up and clear belief. For many of you, though, this was just showing you what's possible. This is where you can be. This is where our clients get to. This is what it will feel like when you clear these beliefs in a way that works for you. People are going, how do I do this now? There's a number of different ways you can clear beliefs. Sometimes by just questioning, is this true? And challenging and giving yourself examples. For some people that works. Some of our deepest ones don't necessarily let go that way. For some people, Byron Katie's The Work can work for them. Lion Goodman has a process called Clear Beliefs. Other people have energy work or hypnosis that works for them. And then this is the work that my team does day in and day out. And we have about 6 or 7 ways based on people's different styles, especially with those really sticky, tricky beliefs, that we allow people to clear expectations and senses and beliefs very rapidly, identify and then eliminate. So I know our time is up, so I'm going to wrap this up in the next minute here. This is the takeaway for today. If you're stuck raising your prices, if you're stuck trying to figure out how to charge what you're worth, even if you've tried everything, even if this has been going on for years, there's a reason. You're not broken. You make sense. The beliefs behind your limiting patterns can be identified, and then subtracted with a T. It's not subtraced, that should say subtracted. I want you to walk away from today with a new sense of hope and knowing that change is possible. It doesn't have to take a long time. You've literally experienced it in just a moment today. And you already have what you need. You don't need more. You can raise your rates and you can charge what you're worth through subtraction. If you're interested in reading about other people who have done this, so you can see from people who've come before you, you can go to our website, there's case studies, or you can go to our results page. And then finally, if today's session brought up questions for you, or perhaps memories or traumas or experiences that felt too personal to share with the group and you'd like someone to ask, and you have some questions about what showed up, this is my personal cell. You're welcome to reach out to me and text me any questions that you might have. And if you'd like to book a call to ask those questions in privacy, you can go to this link, Next Step, and you'll be able to pop into my calendar and we can go through anything that was sensitive or that you're curious about, or maybe as it relates to a family member or friend. And that is time. Thank you so much for being with me here today. This was such a delight and an honor.
Thank you so much, Erin.